Today, I decided to be a slob and say that games haven't been good since the year 2000, specifically peaking with the Nintendo 64. Because why play Mario Kart 8 when I can play Mario Kart 64? Look how much longer the number is. So I want to die? The Nintendo 64 is among the first batch of consoles to go beyond the X and Y axis by having 3D games. But considering the storage restraints from using these wastes of plastic rather than discs, they didn't have enough storage to include dozens of levels, so instead they had to get a lot more out of what they did have. This birthed the collectathon genre, where you have large open maps to traverse around where you must complete certain objectives around it to win, well, a collectible. Clever name. And the most notable collectathon is a little game that you may or may not have heard of called Super Mario 64. I can't escape this game. The older 2D Mario games had dozens, if not hundreds, of bite-sized platforming stages to go through, but since 3D was such a beast, they instead decided to design around a dozen stages and have you collect stars and whatever the mission asked you to do. And these missions can range from fighting a big bomb guy at the top of a mountain or traversing a big-ass clock. It's not as fun as it sounds. But one of the biggest companies making collectathons for the Nintendo 64 was one of my personal favorite developers, Rareware, or shortened to Rare because my stuttering ass does not want to say Rareware 80 different times. Rareware, 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 Rareware. Fuck. Rare was already one of the biggest developers for Nintendo back during the SNES era with their Donkey Kong Country trilogy, which in my unbiased opinion are the greatest games ever starring monkeys. Except for Balloons TD6. They were also responsible for the Battletoads series, which is pretty fun, and if you want to go further back, they were even responsible for, like, Wheel of Fortune for the NES. Oh boy. But in my opinion, Rare was at their best during the Nintendo 64 era, where they released some of their most iconic games. GoldenEye 007, Blast Corps, Jet Force Gemini, Donkey Kong 64, but in today's case, the Bear and Bird game. You thought I was going to say Diddy Kong Racing, didn't you? Well, yeah, that one's of course my favorite, but that's gotta be saved for another time, sadly. Back during the Super Nintendo era, Rare was working on this RPG called Dream, where you played as this red-headed pirate dude, but with the Nintendo 64 being slated to release like 5 minutes later, the game was pushed back to be developed for the N64. However, after a while I assume Rare got really bored with the project and decided to turn it into something else entirely, which turned into a little game starring a bear and a bird called Banjo Kazooie. Banjo Kazooie, along with Conker's Bad Fur Day, but we aren't talking about that here, were actually teased in another one of Rare's games for the Nintendo 64 being Diddy Kong Racing. Banjo and Conker were playable characters along with the rest of the cast like Diddy Kong and who the fuck else. Weirdly, Banjo isn't with Kazooie in this game, who knows where the hell he went, and this is also presumably before Conker turned to his alcoholic tendencies seen in Conker's Bad Fur Day. He seems so much happier. The effects of alcoholism. Not that I would know. But anyway, in June of 1998, our beloved was officially brought into this world with the release of Banjo Kazooie, along with the Yellowstone Fires. Banjo and Kazooie have always been characters that have appealed to me because they just have a silly charm to them which I like, but surprisingly, I never actually played this game until a few years ago. I was kind of a fake Banjo Kazooie fan. And that's kind of weird because I love bears. I live in the hellhole state of Alaska. They're essentially like our dogs that live in our backyard and eat our garbage. We don't have raccoons. Hell man, I think my dog is part bear. Let's not think about that. Let's think about the funny bear and bird game. Leave me alone. The game opens up with a quick musical opening cutscene where each character plays an instrument. Banjo plays the banjo, Kazooie plays the kazoo. Hey. Although the music here is clearly made with my beloved synthesized instruments, which makes me wonder, is Banjo a banjo poser? After this you see a wicked woman witch named Gruntilda looking for the prettiest girl around, expecting it to be her, but considering that she is fat and green and stupid and ugly and a bitch, it shows Banjo's little sister Tootie instead. With this new knowledge, as any wicked woman would do, she kidnaps Tootie to take all of her prettiness away and give it to herself. And as all this is happening, Kazooie, Banjo's backpack bird, is flipping the fuck out, but Banjo's sound asleep, but he'll eventually wake up. When it's too late. Banjo and Kazooie head to save Tootie and meet Bottles, a little mole who knows a bunch of tricks Banjo and Kazooie can pull off which will be necessary in their journey to save Tootie. This part of the game essentially works as a tutorial where you need to find Bottles and learn new moves. You get combat moves like the Claw Swipe which allow you to take out enemies throughout the game, but my favorite moves are the ones that involve Kazooie. You have this one where it kind of works as a double jump or something, but my favorite is the one where Kazooie shoots her legs outside of Banjo's backpack and is able to support the entire weight of a whole ass brown bear. Pretty impressive. With all these moves learned, it's time to actually play the game. This game takes a very similar gameplay style to a game like Super Mario 64, where you have a large area to play around in with specific objectives you can complete around the given area. When you complete a mission in any given level, you're rewarded with a Jiggy, which works as this game's main collectible, but not the only. Holy hell, there's a lot. To regain your health, you can collect honeycombs, which come out of enemies when you kill them. Not really much to say about these, so I won't waste your time. Just kidding, I will. You know what you got into. But say you don't want to regain your health and you just want to get stronger. Well, for one, quit playing Banjo Kazooie or go to the gym. But you can also collect extra honeycombs scattered around the level, where once 5 are collected, you're rewarded with 1 extra hit point. Fun fact, this also works in real life. Throw yourself in front of a car. As you play, you may notice these silver skulls, which make a funny noise when collected, and wonder what you can even do with these. Well, once you collect enough, you can access Mumbo's lair, where he'll perform magic tricks on you and turn you into random objects or animals, say a termite or a pumpkin. In each world, there are enough Mumbo tokens to visit Mumbo, and each time he'll turn you into a specific animal or object to complete a certain task. This is actually a really fun way to shake up the gameplay, and even though playing as a termite is nowhere near as fun as playing as Banjo and Kazooie, there are some fun challenges to be had. The other transformations in this game are a crocodile, walrus, a pumpkin, and a bee, which none of these play nearly as well as Banjo and Kazooie, and work more as a gateway to getting to a certain collectible. My favorite thing about these transformations, though, is that you're able to leave the world and go back to Gruntilda's lair as that transformation, which allows you to find even more collectibles! Also, whenever Mumbo performs his magic tricks on you, he always says Umanaka, which may sound like complete gibberish to an average boring player, but the reason why Mumbo says this is actually a reference to the game's composer Grant Kirkhope having a swollen testicle at the time. And he kept shouting, "Oh my knackers." These Brits, am I right? I'm sure you're delighted to have this knowledge. Lastly, for now, in each level there are 100 music notes scattered around, where once all collected you're rewarded with a Jiggy. All of these collectibles add up in each world to allow you to collect the Jiggies, along with all the Jiggies scattered throughout specific missions, which are all fun, but I would be lying if I didn't say these got a little repetitive at times, especially towards the end. As well, in each level there are 5 different colored bird creatures called Jinjos hidden around the levels, which, who would guess, get you a Jiggy once all collected. By the way, a lot of things sound like slurs in this game. Jiggies, Jinjos. Yeah, shut up, you Jinjo. My issue with having so many collectibles along with level-specific gimmicks is that it can be a pain in the ass to keep track of, and for completionists, it can be incredibly stressful. Luckily me, I only do the bare minimum. I need to worry about college applications soon. But there are many really fun things to do in this game, like throw oranges at this monkey and kill this monkey and steal a Jiggy from this monkey. I hate this f***ing monkey. And the worlds in this game are so creative, which I think more than makes up for some of the lackluster collectibles. They're all accessible from Gruntilda's lair, which works as this game's hub world, which in and of itself works as its own standalone level. There are puzzles and collectibles, yes, more collectibles, hidden in here, and reaching each new level takes a couple of puzzles to go through, which I really like. And for every world you collect, the Jiggies add up into this puzzle, and every time you have enough Jiggies, it opens up a new world by completing a puzzle, which is very cool. And it's a really cool way to incorporate the gameplay into, like, making sense in the world, you know? Through Gruntilda's lair, you can occasionally find Gruntilda's little sister, Bruntilda Winky Bunyan, which is a contender for what I'm gonna name my firstborn after, right after Diddy Kong, but due to recent events, I don't think that's a great name for my child. When you speak to Bruntilda, she'll tell you 3 of her sister's grossest facts, which are actually really funny. For example, some of my favorite gross facts she'll enlighten you with are: the only thing she's ever won was the dirtiest undies competition at witch school. Although she's dim, she attended Fat Hag High. Not a good day to have dyslexia. And last but not least, you won't believe that Gruntilda's party trick is blowing balloons up with her butt. Now I know that you may say, well, this is just potty humor, why is this so funny? And my delegated response to that is, yeah, it's funny, what about it? Altogether, what I will say about Gruntilda's lair is that I personally despise this hub world. While I think it does have some fun ideas and does a great job at world building, traversing this place can be such a drag, however. I would honestly have preferred something more simple like how they have in Mario 64, because I can't tell you how many times I got lost in this stupid cave. The first world in this game is Mumbo's Mountain, which takes place on a mountain seemingly owned by Mumbo. You know, the testicle guy? This is a very good first level to introduce you to all the gimmicks and collectibles, which as I just listed, are a lot. And here there's even a few more abilities you can learn, specifically for Kazooie. Here you now have the ability to shoot eggs out of your beak, which works as a projectile attack, and it gives you the ability to shoot at specific targets. I only use this if it's required. As you progress through the game and visit new worlds, you learn new abilities which allow you to go back into previous worlds and complete new objectives with your new given abilities. This sounds like a fun gameplay idea, but what I will say is that this adds even more to the confusion with the already million collectibles, and now you have to go back to places you've already completed just to use something new you've learned specifically when you weren't specifically told to do so. What am I saying? Like in the second world of the game, you get the ability allowing Kazooie to fly. Like, this sounds fun. You're a bird and you're flying. It's not fun. I think the first few worlds in this game are great, like Mumbo's Mountain, which I've already mentioned, but also Treasure Trove Cove, Bubble Gloop Swamp, and Freezeezy Peak, but they kind of fall off towards the end. A lot of them just rely on one specific gimmick and don't really do much past that. For example, the world Rusty Bucket Bay. This level uses a gimmick where you need to raise and lower the water level to get access to certain rooms and areas, but holy shit, this is so damn annoying because the swimming physics in this game are so slow and you need to keep backtracking by going up and down and up and down and over again. For the final showdown in this game, you go up Spiral Mountain, you meet up with Grunty to duke it out in the ultimate showdown of Ultimate Destiny. You square up to fight, and as you get ready to throw your first punch, it's a game show. A game show. Yeah, instead of using all the combat stuff you learn throughout the game to test your knowledge on the game's mechanics, you're quite literally tested on the game's mechanics in a literal quiz. Which, speaking of, I did better on this than my last science test. Why did I admit that? Once you complete the quiz show, game show, lame show, the 5 Jinjos you've been saving throughout each world of the game start beating the piss out of Grunty, ending with her being pushed off the mountain and the game ending. Banjo Kazooie has become one of my favorite platforming series of all time the more I've played it. While I am able to recognize this game's issues, which definitely do negatively impact the game, especially for a more modern casual player, you see, I'm seasoned in game bullshit, I can do this just fine. But even with the flaws this game has, it more than makes up for it with the charm and fun to be had. Say the characters, this game has some of the most living and fun characters in any game, especially around this time. While Banjo works for the most part as an exposition character, Kazooie is a complete brat to pretty much any character. And the main villain, Gruntilda, is comically evil. My favorite part about her is that she dedicated the life of a poor robotic fish named Clanker just to be used as her own personal garbage disposal. This is this guy's entire life purpose. Fun fact, Clanker is also a slur against robots now, I guess. I have made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment, and I don't expect to be forgiven. And I love this game's dialogue too. Everyone is a complete dick to one another, and it's incredibly mean-spirited. So yes, while this game doesn't age the best in many aspects, as I said before, this game will forever go down as one of my favorite games of all time, and I don't even like a lot of this game, so it just speaks volumes to how good this game's highs are. In conclusion, this game has taught me that anything is possible. I could have learned this lesson a lot sooner if I actually went outside and socialized, but I just geeked out about Banjo Kazooie for like 12 minutes. I'm never getting laid. However, what I don't need is a stupid bird yelling insults at me and calling me dumb, because the last time that happened, I had to be sent to another home for a few months.